Good morning, children. Once again, a warm welcome to all the students for online series of lectures in chemistry for standard 12th. Last time we have studied some few methods of preparation. Let us continue with the same topic of halogen derivatives. We are coming to the next third method of preparation of alkyl halides. This is a unique method to prepare alkyl halides. In this method, we prepare alkyl halides. From alkyl halides, we prepare alkyl iodides. Alkyl iodides are prepared conveniently by this method, and the name of this method is Wilkinson reaction. In this reaction, in this method, alkyl iodides are prepared conveniently by treating either alkyl chlorides or alkyl bromides with sodium iodide in methanol or acetone solution. If you see here, RCl, which is alkyl chlorides treated with sodium iodide in acetone, gives you alkyl iodides and sodium chloride as a byproduct. Example, if you take ethyl chloride when treated with sodium iodide, here you get acetone treated with acetone, you get ethyl iodide and sodium chloride. Here if you see, there is a simple exchange of halogens. The chlorine halogen is been exchanged by iodine, and here that's why it is known as halogen exchange reaction. So by this method we can prepare only derivatives of iodides, any alkyl iodide, starting with from treated with chlorine or bromine. The second method is Schwarz reaction. In this reaction, we can prepare only fluoride alkyl halides. So alkyl fluorides are prepared by heating alkyl chlorides or alkyl bromides with metal fluorides such as AgF or Hg2F2 or AsF3 or SbF3 and so on. So you take alkyl chlorides or alkyl bromide and treat with silver fluoride. Here you get alkyl fluorides and silver chloride as a PPT, as a byproduct. So here in Wilkinson reaction, we get a derivative of alkyl iodides, and in Schwarz reaction, we get a derivative of alkyl fluoride. So here, for example, if you take methyl chloride, treat with silver fluoride, you get methyl fluoride and silver chloride in a precipitate form. So this is a simple reaction. There is a simple exchange of halogen in both this, and that's why it is known as halogen exchange reaction. The next is preparation of haloarenes. In this, we study preparation of haloarenes, means a benzene substituted by halogen, that is replacement of atoms or groups by an electrophile. Here it is electrophilic substitution reaction. If you see what is electrophilic substitution reaction, is a positively charged species. So here aryl chlorides or aryl bromides can be prepared by direct halogenation of benzene and its derivatives. Means benzene is treated with halogen, and if you see, it is carried out in a dark or ordinary temperature in presence of suitable Lewis acid as a catalyst like Fe or FeCl3 or anhydrous AlCl3. Aromatic electrophilic substitution with iodine is reversible, and hence this reaction is carried out in oxidizing agents like HNO3 or HiO3. If you see in the example, there is a toluene, that is methyl benzene. So methyl benzene, when treated with bromine in presence of Fe in dark, you get orthobromotoluene and a parabromotoluene and plus a byproduct, that is HBr. Here you get mixture of products, ortho as well as para, and as usual para will be in a major quantity and ortho will be in a minor quantity. The second method of preparation for haloarenes is Sandmeier's reaction. Here in Sandmeier's reaction, aryl halides is prepared by replacement of diazonium group by halogen atom. If you see here, aniline treated with HNO2 in presence of sodium nitrite and HCl at 273 to 278 Kelvin, you get a benzene diazonium chloride molecule. So here you get a diazonium chloride, which is N triple bond N, where one of the nitrogen is a positively charged species and there is a chloride, so it's a diazonium salt, I would say. Now here if you take this Sandmeier's reaction, this Sandmeier's reaction gives a very good yield, and that's why it is more preferred. If you take this, these are all in a general form, benzene diazonium chloride, where Ar is a benzene molecule aromatic ring, N2X is a diazonium salt. If you treat this benzene diazonium salt with cuprous chloride CuCl2 NHCl, you get a derivative of a chlorine with, that is halochlorine, I would say, haloarenes, I would say. Here it is aromatic benzene ring substituted by chlorine and nitrogen gas has been liberated. Similarly, if you see aromatic nitrogen, that is diazonium chloride, or diazonium salt, I would say, treated with cuprous bromide, you in presence of HBr gives you bromine aromatic substitution. And again, if you take benzene diazonium chloride salt treated with Cu cyanide in presence of potassium cyanide, you get a cyanide derivative of a benzene. This is a very rare named reaction, Sandmeier's reactions, a very important reaction. So we should note the difference between what is happening in the first step, that is formation of diazonium salt, and finally we are getting a substitution of chlorine, bromine, or any other derivative, that is that is cyanides, anything which is substitution reaction. What are the physical properties of different halogens or halogen derivatives? We have come to a very different topic. Up till now we have studied the introduction, the nomenclature, the preparation, the reactions of halogen derivatives of alkanes and haloarenes. But now let us see what is physical properties. Now if you see a nature of intermolecular forces, here the carbon to halide bond in alkyl halide is a polar covalent solvent. Polar covalent solvent means there is a delta positive and a delta negative. If you see the size of the halogen atom increases from fluorine to iodine. If you see the halogen group, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, hence the size increases from fluorine. Fluorine is the smallest and iodine is the largest. Hence the carbon to halogen bond length increases and carbon to halogen bond strength decreases with the increase in the size of the halogen atom, because the size of p orbital also increases. If you see in the following chart, if you see the fluorine bond length is 139 picometer, whereas the bond energy is 453 kilojoules. And if you see the dipole moment, it is 1.87. But if you see from fluorine to iodine, the bond sizes are going on increasing. The bond length, I would say, this is going on increasing. If you see from fluorine to iodine, it is going on increasing. But if you see the enthalpy, it is going on decreasing. So if the size goes on increasing, the ionization enthalpy decreases. This is the statement which we have studied in a periodic table. And similarly, it is happening with fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. The next is the boiling point. the boiling point of alkyl halide is more than the corresponding alkanes. If you see alkyl halide, say methane, that is methyl chloride, is more than the corresponding alkane methane due to the higher polarity. Higher polarity because there is a halogen now in this, and higher molecular mass. Now molecular mass also goes on increasing. The boiling point of alkyl halide is increased with increase in molecular mass and decreases with increase with branching. If there is a branching, there will be decrease or increase. So, if you read the statement carefully, the boiling point of alkyl halide is increases with increase in molecular mass. If the molecular mass increases, it increases. And decreases with increase with branching. If the number of the branching is more, it goes on decreasing step by step. So the boiling point of alkyl halide decreases in order, which is, as we have studied, alkyl halides is greater than alkyl bromides, alkyl bromides is greater than alkyl chlorides, and alkyl chlorides are greater than alkyl fluorides. So it goes on decreasing from iodine to fluorine. Now if you see here, haloalkanes, methyl fluoride, methyl chloride, methyl bromide and methyl iodide, all are derivatives of methane. But the boiling point of fluorine is 194, whereas that of iodine is 3. So it goes on increasing. So the boiling point goes on increasing because it is a simple structure. But if you go to the next, that is haloalkanes, that is methyl chloride is 248. We will study only of chlorine and some halogens, I would say. If you see here, ethyl chloride, here it is 285.5. It goes again on increasing because the number of carbon atom is increased. If you go to the next, that is propyl chloride, it is 320. It is again boiling point is increasing. So when there is increase in carbon atom, there is increase in boiling point. If you see butyl chloride, N-butyl chloride, it is 351. If you go to the next, here now it is halogenous change. It is butyl bromide, where it is 375. Again it is increasing. If you compare butyl chloride and butyl bromide, butyl chloride has got 320, whereas butyl bromide has got 375 Kelvin. If you go to the branching form, it has decreased now. If you see 2-bromobutane, it is 364. But if you see in N-bromobutane, it is 375. So with the branching, the boiling point decreases. If you see a tertiary butyl bromide, it is 346. So it is further decreased because there is more branching. So the more the branching, the boiling point will decrease. This is the conclusion of this statement. Solubility. Now what is doing with solubility? In simple words, I take a solute, dissolve in a solvent. For example, I take a sugar and try to dissolve in water. So sugar is a solute and water is a solvent. And I try to dissolve sugar into solvent. So sugar is getting soluble in a solvent water. In other words, they are insoluble in water. Now these organic compounds, they are insoluble in water due to, or I would say not only organic compounds, I would say halogen derivatives. They are insoluble in water due to inability to form hydrogen bonds with water, but they are soluble in non-polar organic solvents. So they are insoluble in water but soluble in non-polar organic solvents. Aryl halides are also insoluble in water but soluble in organic solvents. The isomeric dihalogen benzene have nearly same boiling point, but the melting point of the para isomer is quite high compared to ortho and meta. This is because of the symmetrical structure of which can easily pack closely in crystal lattice. As a result, intermolecular force of attraction are stronger. If you see, this is a orthochlorobenzene, I would say. This is a metachlorobenzene and this is a parachlorobenzene. The boiling point of this is 453, but the melting point is 256. In ortho, it is 446, but the melting point is 249. So both have decreased. But in para, it is 448. So it is increased than meta. And it is 323. It is further increased than meta. So hence, we can also conclude from these three structures, ortho, meta, and para, that ortho and para are more stable structure than meta. Optical isomerism in halogen derivatives. Optical isomerism in halogen derivatives, as we explained, as chiral atom and a molecular chirality. What do you mean chiral carbon? A carbon atom in a molecule which carries 4 different atoms or a groups. If you see here, in all the structures, there are 4 different atoms or a groups. It is marked as asterisk. Now in the first structure, if you see, 2 atoms are same. No doubt they are mirror images, but their 2 atoms are same, but 2 atoms are different. The valency of carbon is 4, and as such there will be 4 substituents. And if all these 4 substituents are different atoms or groups, they are called as asymmetric carbon atom, and in particular in this it is called as a chiral carbon atom. So here this structure is, if you see these structures, these 2 structures, 2 substituents are same, and that's why this is achiral. But if you see here, all these 4 are having different colors. So in short, they are different atoms. So they are asymmetric carbon atom. So it is a chiral carbon atom. If you see further here, these are the same structures which are here, and they are in a one. So I would say they are in a eclipsed form. They are in a eclipsed form. But if you see here, there are 4 different structures, so they are asymmetric carbon atom, so they are chiral carbon atom. But where if you see here, there's 2, C and 3, where they are mirror images, so these are not chiral, but they are achiral. So because they are having 2 substituents same. And so the rotation is possible as 180 degrees centigrade, same as the first structure which is here. Optical isomerism. The stereoisomerism, in which the isomer have different spatial arrangements of atoms or groups around a chiral carbon, is called as optical isomerism. Now what is isomerism? We have studied many times in the last year in alkanes, alkenes and alkynes as a topic. That is, isomerism is a compound having the same molecular formula but different structure, different substituents attached to it, I would say. With regard to a different structure, I would say. Now here, molecular formula could be same but different structures, the structures are different. But here in optical isomers, this is an optical isomerism related to arrangements of different atoms or groups in space. And that's why they've used the word very nicely, spatial, not spatial, but spatial, in space. Arrangements of atoms or a group around a chiral carbon atom. Chiral atom is called as optical isomerism. Next term is plane polarized light, PPL. We always call this as PPL, plane polarized light. Now what is this? This is nothing, a simple terms. You take a monochromatic light here, maybe a bulb, a normal light, and when this light is passed through a Nicol prism, the transmitted light start oscillating in one plane, but which is perpendicular to the direction of the propagation of light, is known as plane polarized light. So here if you see, this is a monochromatic light, and this is, I would say, a polarizer. Polarizer in simple terms is a prism, and here you get a plane polarized light which is perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. Now, when the direction of the light is this straight line and it is traveling the sense, but this is perpendicular, so this is perpendicular to this light of rays of a light, I would say. So here this is, in simple terms, ordinary light pass through a nickel prism. Transmitted light oscillation is there in one plane which is perpendicular to the direction of the propagation is known as light, as a plane polarized light. So nickel prism is made up of maybe a calcium, that is calcium crystal or calcite crystals, crystalline form, that is CaCO3. It is also known as a polarizer. So here we have used nickel prism as a polarizer. Next is optical activity. Now here optical activity in simple terms can be defined the property of a compound to rotate the plane of plane polarized light. Just the property of a compound to rotate the plane of PPL, that is plane polarized light, in right or left side are called as optical activity. The compounds which rotate the plane of plane polarized light are called optically active compounds. Now here in this, if you see, there is a normal light, a polarizer, maybe prism, and here you see a plane polarized light. And this plane polarized light can rotate either to the right hand side or to the left hand side. Now here in this case, it is rotating towards the right hand side. And here if you see, it's a plane polarized light, here there is an angle alpha. So rotating through that angle alpha. So here there is rotation either towards the right hand side or a left hand side. But when it is rotating to the right hand side, it also has to rotate to the left hand side by the equal angle but opposite in direction. So those who do not rotate are called as optically inactive. So the only optically active compounds can rotate. Optically inactive compounds cannot rotate. So the angle through which the substance rotates the plane of plane polarized light on passing through is called optical rotation. According to optical rotation, an optically active substance is either dextrorotatory or levorotatory. Now friends, we'll stop here and we'll continue with explanation of optical activity further in the next coming lecture.